Thank you, Judy.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. It is a busy time of year and certainly a busy semester for those of you who are in the schools, finishing up maybe some student teaching or finishing up exams, getting ready to go home for the holidays or whatever that looks like for you. So you can't know how much I appreciate the fact that you took the time to do this, something that you're doing that every other peer alongside you is not doing, which is pretty interesting because it shows me that you are willing to go that extra step and that extra mile to do whatever it takes to be as successful as you can. So from the team here, congratulations to you all. And I think it's pretty awesome. So I have a slide deck for you. We have a very busy night planned for you. So I'm going to start with sharing my screen if it actually works. So hopefully it will. Can anybody see that at all? Because if it worked, I'll be pretty psyched.
Yeah, I see
All
it.
right. So tonight I join you and my name is Judy Lobianco and I am the CEO and president of a consulting company known as HPE Solutions. And I mostly do my work here in New Jersey, helping districts support their health and physical education staffs. And that's really important, right? Because there's nothing more a teacher needs in their program than to know that administrators understand their work and are there to help them in every way possible. So when you get into your schools, I want you to make sure that your administrators know who you are, invite them to your classroom and make sure they appreciate and support and promote health and physical education. Now, we have a very special guest with us this evening who's here to bring us greetings from your National Society of Health and Physical Educators, Shape America's CEO. Take it away, Stephanie Morris.
Hi, everybody. It's so good to be here. When Judy and Michelle shared that they were doing this, I pretty much said, can you please invite me and let me have just a couple of moments? Because I absolutely love the opportunity to connect with future professionals in our field. You all are just amazing. And you're awesome for showing up here tonight, for wanting to invest in yourselves and learn from the best. Frankly, you cannot have better mentors or guides talking to you about your resumes, tips for interviewing, do's and don'ts, even the negotiating process, right? If you're fielding offers and at that stage, Judy Lobianco and Michelle Huff are amazing experts in these areas. And the opportunity that you have tonight, that you've chosen to take this time to invest in yourselves and your career, to spend it with them, is amazing. So congrats to each and every one of you. I also just want to give a huge shout out for the fact that they are going to introduce you tonight to Health Moves Minds. It is our flagship program at Shape America. We could not be prouder of the lessons that are available to you for free at no cost. They will set you up and they will really help you elevate your practice and stand out as a health and PE professional in your school and in your district. We know that because we've seen the impact of this program time and time again from teachers who are using these lessons and who are choosing also to fundraise for money that can go to their schools, or in students' cases, money that can go to their HPE club, or sometimes goes to schools that they're partnering with for their student teaching. All the options are out there. Judy and Michelle are going to talk about all of that, but I'm just really, really proud of each and every one of you for showing up tonight and deciding to spend time in reflecting on your next steps in advancing your career. Shape America is here to support you on that journey every step of the way. Please don't ever hesitate to reach out if you think there's something we can do to better serve you and support you and frankly celebrate you, because you are doing amazing work every day, and the work that you are putting into preparing to teach, to launch your career is amazing. And so whatever we can do to support that, we are here to do it. Hands down. It's as simple as that. So find your way to membership at Shape America. I hope you'll join as student members or as young professionals. Find your way to your local state affiliate organization. Find your way to networking opportunities, wherever they may be, especially ones like tonight with Michelle and Judy. So with that, I get to turn it right back over to Judy and Michelle. And thank you all so much again for having me here tonight. It's just a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Steph. And I happen to see a very good friend of mine, Brian, who is here. I hope he doesn't mind my embarrassing him a little bit, and I hope he's not in the car driving, But Brian, you want to give a shout out and say hi?
Yeah, let me get my microphone off mute here. Yeah, I'm on the road, Judy, but playing it safe here on the speakerphone. But appreciate the opportunity and thanks to you all for doing this session for future professionals. You know, engaging the future professionals is the key in our field, and getting you all involved at an early age and early on in your careers to make sure that you all understand how valuable these state organizations and other affiliates are with, you know, helping you to get professional development and helping further your career through, you know, finding job opportunities. And also appreciate all you're doing tonight to help these students to find their path to success in health and physical education.
I love it. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that a lot. All right. So before we get underway, I want to know what you're most curious about. So a little audience participation here. What are you most excited about learning about tonight out of the topics that we're offering you this evening, so we can do our best to customize what we're doing tonight with the time that we have? Awesome, awesome, awesome. We'll give everybody a few more seconds here. Do, 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 do.
Jeopardy music.
I'll give everybody 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. All right, it looks like interviews, TikTok, and Health Moves Minds are the big winners. So I will jump through resumes and tell you all that you need to have on your resume tonight. Then we'll dig into interviews, and then I'm sure that Michelle will be able to help you with TikTok and Health Moves Minds. That's wonderful. Thank you for answering the poll tonight. So let's get into it, shall we? We're going to start with the fact that I've, in my career, have done lots of interviews and resumes, right? And here in New Jersey, for those of you who are here, we have a lot of universities and colleges that, you know, graduate health and physical education majors, which means that when I go out to ask for someone to take my job, I could be looking at about 200 resumes, y'all. And it's like, wow, what do we do with that? How do we make ourselves a little more viable when we're talking about being against 200 people? So I want to make sure I teach you how to write a winning resume tonight. I want to make sure you interview with lots of confidence and that you're prepared before, during, and after. And I'm going to tell you some tips and tricks around that entire process tonight. That'll be my section. So let's start with the resume, everybody. I want to let you know that the content matters, but one of the things that people don't realize is everybody is graduating with a degree, right? So when I have 200 resumes in front of me, everybody has been told the college gave you a degree, which means I know you know how to be a teacher, right? So how are you different? And what content can you put in your resume besides, hey, Judy, I graduated, I have my bachelor's or my master's or my grad degree, and I did an internship. Everybody did that. So how do I narrow this field? Whatever experiences you bring that are unique are going to make your resume a little longer. And I want to make sure you know what it is I'd like you to include. So let's take a look at that a little bit. I can get rid of this. There we go. What you want to know is, how do you get me to look at how unique you are? And I'm going to let you know some of these pitfalls and problems that people have with their resume. So the first thing that I look at on your resume is what you say you want your career objective to be. Do you just merely say, my objective after all this time I went to school is to just obtain a job? Like, I see that a million times every year, and I don't want to see that. We're talking about you going into the field having an objective, and I want that objective to be about children. It is so incredibly important that from the very first start of the very first line of your resume, you're telling me I'm child-centered. So I'd rather a career objective sound like this. My objective is to motivate, support, encourage children, help them to lead healthy, active lives. Help them understand the skills around their health and their wellness, right? So really think about the way you're putting that together. Don't go into a dissertation, right? It's only going to be 1 or 2 sentences. So really make it good. Make it short, succinct, and powerful. And if you build it, I'm going to want to see it, right? I'm going to want to see what makes you unique around whether or not you've worked with kids, right? Have you, before the time that you graduate, have you had an opportunity to engage with small children, if that's your interest, or middle school or high school kids? Have you coached? Have you been at camps, right? The time to find out you don't want to be with little kids like kindergartners is not the first day of school, right? If you didn't know up until then that you just don't like being sneezed on, oh boy, that's not too good, right? So you've got to know, is this really for me? I'm going to give up my life for these little people and these little humans, and is this what I really want? Let me get out there in the field and try and figure out what that looks like. And Michelle, if you could just monitor the chat for me, if there's questions, I'm happy to answer them, and you just interrupt me, okay? All right. So have you worked with kids? Have you had the opportunity to? Now, if you're already 1 semester away from graduation, it gets a little harder to jump out and get those jobs. But hey, look, if you're in your 1st, 2nd, 3rd year at the university and you can do a summer job at a camp or substitute teach, these are great opportunities, right? Another big one for me is the professional organizations. Now, I knew you probably knew I was going to say this as a former president of Shape America and Shape NJ, but it really does help you to stand out. Why? Do I want your membership money? No, I don't, right? And I'm not here to sell memberships for Shape America. Sorry, Stephanie, if you're still there. But what I am here to tell you is if you belong to a professional network, a professional organization, you're showing me that from before the time you graduate, you want to grow and learn in your profession, right? You want to be out there engaging in research and reading the most current trends in the field and networking with colleagues at workshops, webinars, and conferences, and being a learner, right? Because for me, after all these years, I find that the best teachers are also students of their profession at the same time. So although you might have thought to yourself, once I graduate from this university, I'll never have to do anything again around this. No, it's not true. What's the truth is that you have to be passionate and cutting edge about our profession, because maybe unlike other subject areas and maybe unlike other jobs, education completely continues to evolve, right? And I don't want to mention the P word, the pandemic, but even our profession has changed profoundly since COVID. And we need to make sure that we get teachers out in the field that are willing to pivot, adjust, and be flexible around what the needs of students are, right? Take vaping, for example. When I was in middle school, there was no such thing as vaping. And 30 years from now, there'll be no such thing as vaping. It'll be something else, right? So it's really important that you stay on the cutting edge. And the way to do that is to be connected with your state and national SHAPE organizations. And it does set you apart, right? So if I see 200 resumes, I have to tell you that if you belong to your state or national organization, you're probably dropping down to about 50 applicants now, believe it or not, right? And then what have you been participating in now? I mean, this webinar should actually go on your resume. It should be other professional experiences. And if you've been to workshops, great. And you can put webinar for the 2022 future professionals, right? I think it's really important that you show me that even before you get out here, you want to elect and volunteer to be parts of these learning experiences. And then the certifications. And for those of you who are graduating with degrees in New Jersey, you know this is very significant, right? Certifications in first aid, driver ed, health education, right? The more you have to offer me, the better off you're going to be, because I need to know that I can use you in more than one place, you know? I want to know that when I do the schedule, I can plug you in as a driver ed teacher or teaching first aid or doing health, right? So it's really important that we pay attention to those, because the more flexible I can be with you, the more you can do for me, the more you're going to beat out another applicant. So what goes in the document? I want to know explicitly about your student teaching or intern experiences. This is going to be one of the last things you do before you come out in the field, and it'll be you actually working with kids directly. So I want to know, what was that like for you? What did you do? What did you teach? Don't just say, between September and December, I worked in 2 schools and I taught elementary health and PE. That doesn't tell me anything. Tell me the story. What did you teach? And this is your opportunity to really knock me off my feet, right? By saying the words of the profession. I taught locomotor and manipulative skills. I taught dribbling, passing, shooting, striking, volleying to 3 through 5 graders, 5th graders. I taught invasion games and net games and fitness. I want to hear that. I want to hear exactly what you taught and what grades you taught. Tell me about the experience. Again, I don't want a dissertation here. I want maybe a paragraph. But this is the closest thing that I'm going to get to knowing what it's like to watch you in the classroom. And coupled with the fact that I'm going to call your schools and cooperating teachers and university mentors and professors, this is going to give me the best snapshot of what experiences you have had. And then any jobs related to children, up until this point, I'm going to want to know about, right? So that's camps. Did you work at the Y? Have you coached? Have you done any summer rec programming? You know, and people always ask me, what about jobs in the service profession other than physical education and health? I can't say that if you only have so much geography on your resume, you only have so much space, that I'm really going to be interested in whether or not you were a server at a restaurant, right? Or worked on a construction site. Yes, those are good things, but I want you to be able to use the room for something that's related directly to kids, right? So keep that in mind, keep that in mind. And then again, those certifications, particularly in New Jersey, one I left off here that I think is invaluable to you, and I need Michelle to shake her head even though she's muted, is a certification in mental health first aid, right? We have been hearing about how mental health is so equal to physical health lately. We've been hearing about social emotional learning. I think what could really set you apart in this climate at this time is for you to look up a course in mental health first aid and get certified in that. If that's on your resume, I think I would directly pull you into an interview, right? Because that's the above and beyond piece, right? And then of course I mentioned your memberships in both state and SHAPE, which is rare, right? That double membership is very attractive to a supervisor like me who knows that not only you're getting information you need on the state level, which in New Jersey is very important because we have brand new standards that everybody's talking about, right? But also you're getting the cutting edge research that you need and the support you need from the national level and all that Shape America offers, their advocacy, fundraising programs, their national standards in health and physical education that they provide, and a whole myriad of resources from the national office. So really very valuable.
Real quick, Judy,
Yeah.
Brian DeVore just wanted to remind us, document extra duties, responsibilities that they have during student teaching.
Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Like I volunteer coach, things like that. So that definitely came into play. More experience.
Yeah. No. Brian, you want to go ahead and expand? Please.
Yeah, Judy, I mean, it's just important to show, like you mentioned earlier, any work that they have with kids and that they've done, those extra duties and responsibilities, you're going to have them, especially as a health and physical educator. It's kind of a given. I mean, whether it's a bus duty, a car duty, even volunteering to, like Michelle said, she volunteer coached, volunteering to work with the club. So any of those things can be used on your resume to help. It lets the principal or administrator who's interviewing you know that you're willing to do extra things, which is what they need right now.
Awesome. Awesome. That go above and beyond piece is something that out of the gate shows us that you don't just want the job, but you're showing that before you get to us, you've been doing those things, right? Before you get to us, you've been the go-getter, the one that's passionate, the one that's willing to put themselves out there and give of themselves and of their time, even before we're asking you to do that, right? I love that. I love that. All right. And then any awards or honors you've received, which could come from probably your university. I know when I went to school 100 million years ago, there were opportunities for scholarships and awards at my university. I happened to have gone to Montclair State. Sorry, everybody, but I taught at Monmouth. Okay. And that's a really good thing, right? So getting out there and really putting your foot forward around not being shy about your accomplishments. It's really important. This is a moment where you don't want to be shy. You know, you're trying to sell yourself to me, right? So really be proud of what you've done and the work you've done. So I said to you, I get over 150 resumes easy. I want to make sure you know that I want to make sure you're unique to me. The cover letter is a very important place to do that. Please don't go overboard on the cover letter though, right? So I don't need, you know, it all happened in 1972 when I was born. And then the rains came, and then I played basketball in high school. No. I want to know in your cover letter that you are confident, that you're secure in your knowledge about the profession, and that you're dedicated to serving the children in my school district and helping them be healthy and well. This is the place where it's 3 paragraphs. Hi, it's me. Here I am. The second paragraph is, here's why I'm perfect for you. The third one is, I'm really going to enjoy speaking to you more about this in the future, right? And your skill set's important. The things that you can offer my district that you believe nobody else can. And yes, that oftentimes means coaching, right? And as I go into the interview process, I'll interview you, but it'll be very important for you to interview the district about whether or not you're a good fit. One of the things I've seen lately in the field is new teachers coming in, and they are staying for 2 years and saying, you know what, this is not, I don't like the commute, or this is not. We don't want you jumping around 4 and 5 times, right? Because I don't want to read a resume that says you've been in 5 districts in 10 years. Not a good look. Doesn't mean that you can't switch jobs. Please don't misunderstand me. But you need to make sure that your skill set matches our district, right? And that you go for the level of grades that you want. Like if you really are passionate about elementary, that's where you need to be, right? Really important that you understand your skill set and you're able to articulate that to me in an interview. And then the piece around you just being willing to give yourself to kids and to give the time it takes to plan lessons, to build assessments, to find standards aligned, research-based and evidence-based resources in the field, and do the work it takes to be there for every child. Because look, children, they're interesting. They can spot a fake from a mile away, whether they're 5 or they're 17, it doesn't matter. They know whether you're authentic and you really care enough to be able to do the work it takes to take good care of them as a thoughtful, caring, loving adult in the classroom. And then the portfolios, right? So we want to make sure that you prepare a portfolio after the resume, particularly if you're going to get interviewed by me. What I love about the portfolio idea is that you can bring it in a binder, but I've seen so many cool new versions and ways to do this, from flash drives to CDs, although you don't see CDs anymore, to QR codes, right? So please have a body of your work ready from your student teaching so that I can see what a lesson plan looks like, what one of your rubrics or assessments looks like. I want to see what an evaluation from one of your observers looks like. And I always like to see evidence of student work. That's what I'm looking for when I leaf through your portfolio. And I know that everybody works so hard on these, and sometimes interviewers, they don't ask for it. And so you did this work and no one's asking you for it. I always do, right? You work hard on that, and it gives me an insight about the kind of work that you've done during student teaching. And when we talk about interviews in a few minutes, I'm going to talk about how I'll probably want you to walk me through a lesson, and what better way to show me than to dig into your portfolio, show me the lesson, and walk me through it. Now, I got to tell you, and I am not lying to you, my friends, there's a lot of pitfalls with the resume, and the one that comes up the most is the misspelling of words. And, you know, this is the reason why you got to get a few people to look at the resume and make sure you spelled things correctly, right? For years, when SHAPE NJ was New Jersey AFERD, NJAHPERD, that acronym was always misspelled, you know? Detail matters to administrator, right? Detail matters. And you have to make sure that you read and reread and get others to read your resume for grammar and for misspellings and for length, right? I've never seen a resume that needed to go longer than 2 pages. And no, it does not need to be 1 page if you give me something curious enough to want to turn the page about, right? So yeah, if you've got other professional experiences, if you've got certifications, if you've got workshops under there, you're going to need 2 pages, which is a good thing. I always get the question, do I care what kind of paper it's on? Hot pink is not the way to go. No, no hot pink, right? And, you know, you very rarely in the field anymore have to have you send them in physically. They're always on electronic software program. And that's a good thing for you, right? That's a good thing for you. So when you go to upload the resume and give us that information, just regular paper. It's okay to be regular paper, right? All right. Do I have any questions about resumes before I move on? How are we looking there, Michelle?
I just want to let all the future professionals know that Judy just went through a lot of stuff right there, but remember that this is recorded, so you will have access to it. You will get it. And wow, I wish I had all this knowledge when I was at Montclair State University.
Oh,
Judy,
we can't
too.
shout that out. Don't do that. Don't do that. There
No,
are
but
great,
seriously,
great
I-
programs in
No,
this state.
absolutely. But I'm saying I wish I had these networks.
And
So,
beyond. I got a couple of visitors from out of state here, which I love.
mhm.
All right, are you ready for the interviews, everybody? So here you are. I have your resume. You're in the top 10. I usually interview 10 people because I do it in a day, because I can only afford to bring my teachers in for one day because I get substitutes for them. So if you're free on that day, great. Yeah, I hope you're free on that day that I call you. And from start to finish, here's what we're doing. So I call you, or my secretary calls you and says, hey, you know, I'm calling because we got your resume and we're interested in knowing whether you want to come in to interview for job next Tuesday at 4 o'clock. And your immediate answer is yes, yes, I am. I'm available whenever you say I'm coming in. Now, here's the first thing you're thinking about. Oh, but I'm student teaching. I can't leave student teaching to go to an interview. Yes, you can, right? Yes, leave your assignment. Everybody understands that are the supervisors and teachers in this field. Yes, you leave, but you're still showing me that you care. So please, when I say come in at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday, be ready to say yes, right? Barring an emergency, God forbid, that's the only reason. But I will tell you that if you're looking to graduate in May and you're looking for a September job, as hard as this is for me to say, April spring break is not a good time to go away. And it's because many school district budgets get passed in March and April. And right after the budget gets passed, they post for jobs in the districts, right? And the best jobs are available around that time. Am I telling you not to go on vacation? Of course not. But I am saying that you might miss an opportunity or two if you're not readily available or in the state or in the county that you want to work in around that time, March and April, okay? And it doesn't mean that jobs won't be available at other times. It's just the full-time stuff is usually hot and heavy around March and April, right? All right, so you hang up the phone and you got the interview. So after you go, yeah, you go right to the research on the school district, right? You need to know that you're interviewing me, right? So I was working, for example, in South Orange, Maplewood. You go right to that website and you find out everything you can about who we are, what we do, what our program is like, what the curriculum is, how many teachers are there, and what's the demographic, and are there any special programs going on? What school am I interviewing for? Is there a website for that school? Go nuts on that research. And it's because not only do I want you to be comfortable with where you're interviewing for, but in the interview, I'm going to be asking you, do you have any questions for me? And I want you to come back to that information when you do. So research the school district to make sure you know exactly what you're interviewing with and for. And again, right, you're interviewing them because this is about your comfort, your expertise, where you think you'll best fit. You know, if you had experiences where you think that you want to teach elementary because your student teaching was just wonderful around the elementary piece and they're offering you a high school job, you know, see how it goes. Never say no to an interview, right? Always go, regardless of what the grade level is, and get that experience, but definitely interview the district as well. And then that portfolio we talked about, right? If you have something digitally, you can hand it to them on a flash drive or with a QR code on a business card, or bring it with you so I can see the pictures of the kids engaged in PE, or sample lesson plans or assessments or worksheets from health. Really very helpful. All right. And then what you want to make sure you know before you hang up the phone with my secretary or me is how many people are going to be there. Who am I interviewing with? Is it just you? Is it a superintendent? Is it a principal? Is it a group of teachers? They should tell you that, right? And all you need to simply say is, if in the event I want to prepare materials for everybody at the interview, how many people should I be preparing for, right? That's a very, very good question. Always be a few minutes early, dress professionally. And by dress professionally, I mean, don't dress in physical education clothing, right? Dark tones, nothing bright or flashy. It doesn't have to be a dress, girls. It can be a pantsuit, pants and a blouse for the gentleman. A suit doesn't necessarily have to be a tie. It's interesting to me, you have to be comfortable, right? Because this half hour that you're going to spend with me is very intense. It's very intense, right? So be comfortable. Don't have tight fitting clothes, have loose clothing, but dress professionally. And look, if for some reason it's online, still dress professionally, right? And then bring water. Bring water. Why do I say this? Something happens to you when you get nervous, and it's a horrible feeling of cotton mouth that makes it very difficult to concentrate on what you're saying. Whenever I do mock interviews in my workshops, it's uncanny how after a few minutes, candidates start to sweat and they get dry mouth. It's okay to bring a bottle of water. It's also okay to sip the water before you answer the question, right? The series of questions I will ask, it's not a marathon to see how fast you can answer. I want you to think really clearly about the answer you're going to want to give me. It's okay to use some mindfulness and take a deep breath before you answer, right? You don't get extra points for answering me right when I finish the question, right? So I want you to be thoughtful. This is a big moment for you. It's the rest of your life, right? So take your time. It's really important that you take your time.
And Judy, Brian said, hiring practices and timelines vary across the US. Be mindful if you're looking outside your local area where you are in college.
Yes. You want to elaborate, Brian? Because I agree. Go ahead.
Sure. It just depends on what area you're in, where when they pass the budgets, when schools get allotments. I know, like here in Georgia, where I'm most familiar, usually it's like May or June is the busy month for interviews here, because the budget usually doesn't pass until usually sometime in May at the local school board meetings. So, it's a little bit different. And, of course, out west, it's going to be even more different. So it just depends on where you're at. So if you're going to school in New Jersey, but you're looking for a job in the South, get on the school district's websites and see, when does their budget pass. You can go into the sections to see when the school board meets and see when what their agendas are. So, you don't have to follow when the budget passes, but there'll be a timeline on there about when they'll vote on the budget. So then, hey, that's when schools are going to start to learn what their allotments are for next year and when the job market should turn hot. And if you've already put in a resume or put in an application electronically, that's when you need to put your name in front of those principals again, and athletic directors and HPE coordinators. Just a quick email. Hey, can't wait to hear, if there are any positions open. I'm still very interested in coming to your school district.
Great point, Brian. Thank you for that. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So here you come. You're dressed professionally. You're a little early. How do you prepare? Be ready to tell me about what you believe, right? What are your beliefs around health and physical education? How would you structure a lesson? And be ready with whatever grade level it is, right? K5, 6, 8, 9, 12. Know what it's going to look like. If I close my eyes and imagine you from start to finish, what would the structure look like? What would kids be doing first? How would they transition? How would you say goodbye to them? All those types of things. One thing that you can't mess with, know your standards. Your state standards are critical. This will be a question from me in every interview I've ever had. And it's not a trick question. It's a question about whether or not you actually know your standards, right? So if I'm asking you what you would teach elementary school kids in PE, I don't want to hear 5v5 basketball. No, I don't want to hear pick and roll. I don't want to hear that, right? Really, really important that you know your state standards, the national standards and the language of the national standards. Very important that you know the developmentally appropriate skills for the grade levels, right? The same is true about health education. If you're dual certified, what kinds of skills we're looking for and the words around skill-based health, right? Analyzing peer influences, decision-making, goal setting, finding valid and reliable information on the internet. Very important stuff. So know those standards.
Bye, Brian.
Bye, Brian. Thank you.
We'll see you in the next state, Brian.
Know what you're going to do when a student's not having a good day, right? The one thing principals don't want to hear is, I'm going to kick the kid out and send them to the principal. Don't ever say, I'm going to send them to the principal. That's the kiss of death. Don't ever say that. You want to make sure that you're saying, well, maybe the kid's having a bad day, right? And I'm not going to embarrass the child in front of his peers or her peers. But I'll pull them aside and say, what's going on? Are you okay? Is there something I can do to help? Right. And you'll say, I want to make sure that the class is invested as a stakeholder in the classroom rules from the very go, right? A question about student discipline is about, from the moment they enter my classroom in September, we are all very clear about what the expectations are in our class culture, right? And kids are part of that so that they know, come November, when we've gone over the rules over and over and over again, the expectation is, what happened? Are you okay? Right? And then this is your moment to shine around the buzzwords of our profession. And yes, I want you to say things like the K-5 student should be able to practice dribbling, passing, and shooting with their hands and feet, and striking with long and short-handed implements, and volleying, and fitness. But also, when you think about education today, no interview would be complete without using words like equity, diversity, and inclusion, trauma-informed practice, and social emotional learning, right? And Michelle's going to walk you through everything you need to know about social emotional learning at K-12 level with a new program, not so new program, called Health Moves Minds. All right, so it's really important, right? You worked so hard to learn these words. You've been sitting in kinesiology and motor learning and exercise physiology. This is your moment. This is your moment. All right. So when you have questions, there's a couple of questions that are really good questions. I want you to ask questions about professional development. And here's how it sounds, everybody. This is a magical question for your interviewer, right? I love this question. And so we'll go through the interview and then I'll say, okay, so now my questions are over. Do you have any questions for me? And the very first question I want you to ask is the following. Yes, if you notice from my resume, I've been to many workshops and I've done a lot of networking. In what ways does this school district, in what ways will you support my continued professional growth? And you better get a good answer from a school district on this one, right? I better hear, we invest in workshops for you. We invest in memberships. We send you to the national conference, right? We have dedicated in-service days where there's going to be meaningful and relevant professional development for health and PE teachers. You'd be surprised how often that doesn't happen, right? So you're putting the district on notice. I expect you to help me along my personal journey and my professional journey of growth. I love that question. I think it puts districts on notice that you're not just going to come in here and not, expect to have really good professional development. Right? Don't ask questions in that first interview about things like salary and benefits. That happens after they offer you the job and you go to the central office and you're sitting with the HR person, right? Believe me, that first initial offer where they say, congratulations, you got the job. If you say yes, when you get to the salary and benefits section and you don't like what you hear, you can still say no. Most people don't, but it's really important that you don't barrage the original person with salary and benefits, because that supervisor or principal, that's not their pay grade, right? I do want you to ask questions about what you can expect in your professional life. So a second question you might ask is, can you tell me a little bit about the grade levels in the school in terms of what I'd be teaching, what the average class size is, and what the facilities are like here, right? Will I be co-teaching? Another great question. Do not ask for a tour of the building. I can't tell you how often that's happened to me. I can't give you a tour of the building. I'm in the middle of these interviews. I can't do it. And you can't come back for a tour of the building because we don't let people in the building for tours. It's 2022. No one's allowed, right? So you don't want to ask for a tour of the building. All right. And then look, sometimes the interviewer has been seeing 4, 5, 6 people in the same day, and they might forget to tell you about what the next steps are. If you're not clear by the time you walk out about what'll happen next, when we'll know about the candidates that are going to go forward, you can ask about next steps, right? But make sure that it's clear to you when you walk out of there, okay, they're going to make a decision in the next 2 weeks. They're going to narrow down the field, and I'm going to have to do a demo lesson. Be clear about those kinds of steps. I'm going to ask you 5 questions in an interview. And, you know, the one you see on the screen here is the most important question I'm going to ask you. Now, look, you just heard me say, I'm going to ask you a question about lessons, right? Structure a lesson for me, walk me through a lesson, right? I'm going to want to see a do now. I'm going to want to see a statement of the objective. I'm going to want to see small-sided practice. I'm going to want to see a small-sided game. I'm going to want to see a closure, right? I'm going to want to know that kids know what they're doing, why they're doing it, and how they're doing it. So that's the lesson structure. I'm also going to ask you about what you think kids should know and be able to do by the end of 5th grade, 8th grade, or 12th grade, depending on the level that you're teaching. That's not a trick question. It's about the standards, right? So when I ask you, hey, what do you think kids should know and be able to do in physical education at the end of grade 5? I really mean to say, you know, what are the standards, right? So I want to hear, well, you know, fundamental movement skills such as locomotor, non-locomotor, and manipulative skills, the ability to learn how to move in personal and general space, how to stop safely, how to do the levels, how to move in pathways. That's the language of the profession I want to hear for something like that, right? That's the standards. And those are questions that, you know, if quite honestly, if you get those questions wrong, I actually am not panicking over that because I know it's something I can help you fix, right? The one question I ask you in your interview, which comes first every time, is why do you want to be a health and physical education teacher? And this is the one I'm most concerned about. You know why? Because this is one I can't fix if it's broken. I can't fix your why. I can fix it if you don't know how to handle student behavior. I can fix it if you're having trouble with management. I can fix it if you're having instructional difficulties around the best practices and the strategy. I can fix all that for you. I can help you with assessment. I can't fix this. I can't fix your why. So the first question I'll ask you is, why do you want to be a physical education and health teacher? And you have got to, from the heart, passionately convince me that you're in it for children. And let me tell you, I have heard 100 million ways how people screw this one up. I hear, I want to be a health and PE teacher because my father is. I'm happy for your father, but you know, I want to be a PE teacher because I want to coach. I'm glad you want to coach, but that's not the job I'm hiring you for, right? You're going to coach kids who are pretty confident and skillful. What about the other 85% of your kids in your class who don't feel like they belong? You know, we have to hear an answer that really captures the fact for every last one of my children, you're going to get to know every one of my children. You're going to be there for them as a thoughtful, caring adult. So what answer might be a better answer? I want to be a health and physical education teacher because I believe that student wellness is the most important thing that we could be teaching kids in school. Physical health, emotional and mental health, social health, extremely important to the lives of children and adults. I want to make sure that kids are fit and well and healthy for a lifetime. And I want to intervene around that so that kids have healthy relationships. And I'll dig into the health and PE standards and use them to make a case for why the health and PE teacher is the most important person in the school. The way I say it in my workshops is that your work is a matter of life and death for kids. What a great way to open that one. Why do you want to be a health and phys ed teacher? Because I believe my work is a matter of life and death for kids. Nowhere else in the curriculum can you find things that are so relevant to our daily lives, from what we eat to how we sleep and how we manage our stress and depression. That all happens with me as a professionally certified content expert in the field. I want to hear that, right? I don't want to hear, oh, my family are teachers, or I'm an athlete and I love sports. That comes later, right? This is a question that comes to the heart of exactly what I want you to be thinking about when you think about your why, right? Every day in your classroom, when you're out there in the field, you're going to ask kids, when you've taught a lesson, why do you think this is important? We want kids to know the why, because then we know they'll internalize it and take it into the rest of their life, right? This is your moment, right? You've worked so hard in the universities that you're in, and I need you to really construct a powerful, passionate, and appropriate, authentic why. After the interview, it's really cool and a lost art to send a handwritten follow-up note to the person who interviewed you. Now, I know this is not always very possible, but as long as you have the address, you can have that ready to go. And just a handwritten thank you card, it goes a long way. It happens very rarely, but when it does, it makes an impression on me. Even if you know that my mailbox is in the same building as I am, which you might not know that, but bring it with you, bring the thank you card with you, and even the secretary in the main office, and say, would you make sure Judy LoBianco gets this from me? I'd really appreciate that, right? Because believe me, those front office secretaries, they're all watching you too. They're all watching. They want to know, is this person going to get hired in my building? So I think that's a nice touch. Please never call the interviewer about the outcome of the interview. Never call the interviewer about getting tips and tricks about how they did and how they can improve their performance. Not what we're here for. I know that's rude, but yeah, we're not here to give you advice about how you could do better next time, right? That's what you got me for. Is what you got this for, right? All right. So in closing, I want to tell you that I must have interviewed hundreds of candidates for jobs and looked at hundreds of resumes. And the tips I've given you today really help you pull away from the pack and make the best impression possible when it comes to being confident around interviewing skills, right? It's really important that you keep your nerves in check by taking deep breaths, by sipping water, by not jumping into answers without thinking about them. It's really important that you're a student of your state and national standards. And it's really important at the end of the day to be genuine and authentic, right? Even I can spot a fake that's studied too hard for the interview, right? I need to hear the passion and the enthusiasm for kids come through no matter what, right? Remember, the most important question I'm asking you is your why. And that's something you shouldn't have to study for, right? So I'm hoping this was helpful before we go into the next segment. I'm going to check the chat box here and see if Michelle, is there any questions that anybody has in that chat box? Let me take a look here. They're all still here. I'm so excited.
Me too. I let them know to feel free to like ask any questions, because I know this is like an overload, but it's a great overload that I truly wish that I had, and thank God that I have you as a mentor, because you actually did help me get my the position I'm at now actually was a call from you. So networking is very, very well done. Our future.
All right. Any questions for me? They're overwhelmed. I figured I would do that. Sorry, guys. Well, the next segment is the one and only Michelle Huff. I'm going to introduce her as the Miss Michelle Huff. And this slide is just not cooperating right now, but she happens to be the Shape NJ State Coordinator of the SEL curriculum and fundraiser Health Moves Minds. She's also teaching health and PE at Metuchen High School, soon to be at the middle school. She's part of Shape America's Emerging Leaders team. It's an innovation team that Shape America came up with a couple of years ago, full of young, passionate, caring future professionals looking to evolve the profession around technology. And I'm sure that you've seen her all over TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. And she's also presented at both the state and national levels. Without further ado, I'm going to share on my screen, and I'd like you to give a warm welcome tonight to Michelle Huff.
Woo-hoo!
Whoop, whoop,
Hi,
whoop.
everyone. Hey everyone, I just typed in the chat and just said who has social media, and I probably should have elaborated on that and said who has the one for professional use. If you have a Twitter or if you have a TikTok or an Instagram, if you want to put that in the chat, I know mine is the same for all three. It makes it easy. People can find me, my students can find me, and our other professionals. But before I get into Health Moves Minds, we have another lovely future professional with us here tonight, Abigail Lingle, and she has just became the Most Shave president for future professionals. So let's give it for Abby. And she's just gonna give like a peer view on her experience, and she also works for the Shape America team as well. So Abby, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, first off, I want to say welcome to everyone. It's great to see you all on the East Coast. Like, I'm from Missouri, so I'm like in the Midwest. And thank you both lovely ladies for inviting me on tonight. I hope you guys have been able to take a lot of information so far away from the resume and interviews I had. And one thing I just want to talk about real quick is the why. That is something a lot of people ask you is what's your why? What's your why? And I'll admit, as a college student, there's days I sit here and I'm like, I don't know my why. I haven't taught a class. I don't know. Like, but that's all a lie. Like, there's a reason I went into this profession. There's a reason I'm studying these classes. And my why is going to be different from everyone else's. And that's okay. Like, never compare your why to all the other amazing professions that you've heard their stories and their whys. It's all different, and you just need to figure out what your why is because you know it. Just take a moment to think about it sometimes. And that's something I do want to challenge you guys with because it's a challenge that was given to me last year when I first became part of the Missouri board is what's my why? So I guess my why is I love being with kids and I love educating them about their health and the social and emotional learning. And also just being able to teach kids there's so much more about being physically active than just sports. Like that in the Midwest, we are sports driven a lot, but I've learned so many other ways to be physically active, like yoga and dance. And that's one thing that I've learned in college that I'm going to take and give it to my students one day is teaching them all the different ways, even doing all different cultures of their physical activity, because that's my wise. I want everyone to find their own niche and find where they are comfortable being at for being physically active and healthy. But other than that, a little bit of background about myself is, so yes, I am the Missouri future professional president, just elected in November. So that is super exciting. Also with that, I am also part of a national undergraduate student group called Shape America Student Leadership and Networking. This is a group, if you guys are enjoying hearing about tonight, I really want you guys to go ahead and kind of search for that group because we meet every Thursday once a month and we'll talk about things of Health Moves Minds, your resumes, interviews. We'll bring guest speakers on to just talk about how we should prepare to become a student teacher and just anything along those lines. So if you are loving this information now, us nationally Shape America, we host a group every single month that is all future professionals across the nation that you can really get to talk to. But another thing that I want to share with you guys is, like they said on the resume, be involved in Missouri and or not Missouri, but your state and at the national level. I've only been in physical education for 2 years and I dove in really deep. Like Michelle said, I'm involved at the national level, not only with the student leadership group that I'm a part of, but last year at convention, I also got to be part of the social media team for Shape America, which was amazing. I met so many wonderful people like Miss Michelle. That's how I met her, was through the social media team.
Absolutely. And then who do I call last night when I'm like, can you get an email out to all future professionals like ASAP?
Yeah, so I did that for her. And then yeah, at the Missouri level, I'm the future professional. And I also joined the social media team there. So those are just things like I've done to prepare myself and to look for ways to further my education, make those connections. And I just want to say, all of you guys sitting here currently, you've taken that leap that your other classmates have not. You are being higher standard of a leader. You are searching for that, for like that more education, and you're trying to better yourselves. And I just want to congratulate all of you guys on that. And one thing I want to leave with you guys, because I know we got time's ticking, but never be afraid to be a part of anything, any leadership opportunity. Like, ask those questions, find your professors at your college, find anybody at your national or state level, and just ask them questions about how to get more involved. One question I am very proud to announce is I ended up asking the Moshe president, Guy Danhoff, about Speak Out Day and what that is. And like, I was kind of interested in going. And now Missouri is actually taking me in February to Speak Out Day as a future professional to the Capitol Hill to talk about advocating for physical education. That is something I've been told no future professionals, or very rare future professionals, have ever gone or have ever been interested. And that's one leadership step I'm taking to make sure we have that quality physical education for our future students, and for the future teachers. We are teaching what quality physical education and social, emotional, and mental health is all about. So with that being said, Michelle Huff, thank you so much for letting me be here. Go ahead and you can take it back, and I'll put my social in the chat if you guys want to go ahead and follow me on that.
Awesome, Abby. And I'll just jump in that in a lot of ways, supervisors in my neck of the woods really believe that all of you, as young professionals, as new professionals, are probably more versed in how to take care of today's children, given the fact that you know what makes them tick and you know what they're all about. They live in a technological age. And you, above all of the types of teachers that are out there, you have their hand on the pulse of where they're coming from. So don't be afraid to lead. I totally agree with Abby. You've got skills that the veteran teachers, some veteran teachers just don't have. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Go ahead, Michelle.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Abby, for coming on here and just sharing your story. I just think it's great. I was able to witness her on stage. I think that is something that our profession is going to be driving towards, is the future professionals, because you are the future and we want to be able to be there to support you. And what better way than to just be leading together? A lot of people think leaders have to be, you have to have a doctor in front of your name, but no, it's when you make other leaders, that's when you're a leader. You don't need to talk about it, you just are about it. So thank you so much, Abby, and thank you, Judy, so far. This has been great. As well as our future professionals. I welcome you if you want to. You can turn on your cameras, but I know it's 8 o'clock on a Monday night, but it's awesome that you're here. Abby was talking about that student leadership every Thursday, and I put the document, the Google form for undergrads in the chat. So if you want to sign up for that, it's a great way to network, as Abby was saying, and even like the future professionals lead it. It's awesome. I go in there, like I'll hop in because I'm on the elite team. So sometimes we tag team together. I'll hop in and I'll be in a breakout room, and I love it because it's like I'm learning from you just as like you're learning from me. And I just think that we need to bridge the gap. So, all right, with that said, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. All right, and then Judy, you got the chat, right? Feel free if you have anything to say, or any questions, just type them in. So this is just me, the T. I just like a little background. Health moves minds, here to there. If we were going to be in person, I was going to do that as an activity of Health Moves Minds. So you will, we'll get into that in a bit. I think it's really important, mental health, as Judy said, and it actually is added to my resume. And you'll see on my next page is one of the top things, because I went through a death of a child that lost their life to suicide, and I felt hopeless, and all of my other student athletes, they kept coming to me like, coach, like I didn't know what to do. I had my own stuff, so I just applied. Actually, Judy had posted it. It was from Lady Gaga Born This Way Foundation and Pandemic Relief Funds. And like, I just took that extra step, like that some people just might not, but I got the grant to our school. And now myself and another person are in our New Jersey teen mental health first aiders, and we're able to certify our 10th through 12th grade. So it's like, you know, some things you may not be able to control, but just know that there's always a next step that you could do. You don't have to sit back. You can be that force. And don't let anybody hold you back. Okay. All right. So there we go. See, after my health and physical educator, there's my cert. And of course, like I'm laughing as Judy's saying the why. I'm laughing as Abby's saying the why, because I'm like, oh goodness, we're about to all be talking about whys today. So I guess that's like alignment that that future professionals, I think something's coming down the line that someone's gonna ask you your why. And because it doesn't really click where 3 leaders just like boom, boom, boom with the why. So I'm going to head into this, but you will get all these documents. Okay. I'm just going to have Judy send them out tomorrow with the recording. All right. So here's some stuff with Health Moves Minds. So how are you feeling right now? You're able to check in with your elementary school students. You're able to check in with your middle school and your high school. These are good for both, for K through 12. Right now I'm 7th grade through 12th, and they like both. It's just like, even I got observed today. Actually, I got a surprise observation, and guess who had her check-in cards? I was in the gym teaching physical education, and I have my check-in cards. I always have them available, and they write their goal of the day, and they check in first. How are you feeling? And they say, it says, do I need to have a talk? Like, you know, do you want to talk about it? And then it says, what's my like a SMART goal for the day? So I had my thing, you know, whatever we were doing that day. So we, yeah, it's very important to check in. And then actually I read them before they leave. And I learned that through the teen mental health first aid courses, that I read them before they leave, because if somebody is not feeling well, which somebody wrote that they were terrible, and they wanted to talk to me, I make sure that I talk to them. And I learned that because through the teen mental health first aid, a lot of the times it's they put their phone number, because it's a later time at night. It's like a 7 to 9 thing. And like if they need somebody to call after, like you got to be there to call, and so you got to have 2 instructors. So it's very important, the how am I feeling, and that's all about the social emotional learning, which I'm sure you all are hearing about. So here's some more of the why. All right, so start with your why. So the why is in the middle, then how are you going to do it, and then what? So why? Your purpose, your motivation for what you're doing, and what do you believe? That's like, I just tell my students all the time, like that goes with everything. Like if you don't stand on a solid foundation, if you are just go with the flow with the winds, and you don't have a set purpose or heading towards the direction of that, then you might just get wiped away. You know what I mean? It might be on sand. You don't want to build on sand. You want to build on a solid foundation. And that's where the state levels come in. That's where your peers come in, your professors come in, you know, to help you, because you're young adults. I'm still learning. I learn every day. So, yes, so that's where this whole networking comes in. And then you'll go through your process, and then what your result is. So what is your why? We kind of talked about it already, but like, of course I have it here. What is your why? And then I made my own why. And I like doing like vision boards. I'm very like just particular with things, and I like to see it. I'm a visual learner. So I have things that I already do, but also things that I want to continue doing. And my why behind it. And like really my why behind everything is love. Honestly, I love my kids. I don't want anyone to ever not feel wanted. Like Judy said, um, like sharing your testimony, I was that student that actually did not feel wanted in class. Like I felt like they didn't want me to be there. It would be better off if I was not in class. So I wouldn't go. And I got away with it because I was an athlete, and I don't really think that was a good thing, but that's what happened. Um, and it just every time I talk to my students, I say I don't want anyone to ever feel uncomfortable or not wanted, because like I felt that way. So love, I think, conquers all. All right, now into our Health Moves Minds. So Judy was talking about all interviewing and having that next level, okay, what somebody doesn't have. Okay, so Abby and I are going to the same interview. We have the same amount of, years in the business. Abby's awesome with her words, so am I. We're so encouraging. But I'm like, hey, I have this program, Health Moves Minds. It's our national initiative from Shape America. It's to build a kinder, healthier future for our youth. It also comes with a fundraiser if we want to, and it is a social emotional learning curriculum. You hit your admin with that SEL curriculum and they are sold in a second. And especially if they haven't heard that from someone else and they're like, okay, let me hear a little bit more about this. Then it gives you that little like extra spice, So it's Health Moves Minds is promoting, the social emotional well-being of our kids, being kind, empowerment, EDI. And then, so how do we do this? So we do this through the curriculum, which Health Moves Minds, the curriculum is K through 12, and they give you legit lessons with modifications, your opening, your closing, we'll get there, but basically equipment needs, materials, they even give you like prompts. So it's an awesome written curriculum that develops the whole child. And it's also an opportunity, it's a service learning project. And you can allow your students to become servant leaders and always, leading by example. So each year, I've done Health Moves Minds, and I've done a focus on what my students needed at the time. And the money, and we'll get to that. But just know that like the best part about Health Moves Minds is that like there's like not one size that fits all, that you can make it into your own. What Judy does with hers, what Abby does with hers, what I do with my school, it can all be different. And what you do with your colleges, even with even people that are retired, they could sign up. So this is just the new thing, and it's not going anywhere. We're bringing it on up. So it's exactly what Abby said. It's not just about sports. It's not just about like taking care of your body. It's saying that your mind is equally as important. It's being mindful, taking those deep breaths, like better breathing, just being respectful. Because at the end of the day, like I want my students to leave and be a kind person. They are happy with their life. They're healthy. They know they can come to me if they need something. All those things, the skills. I want them to know the skills, not be able to do something that, hi Siri, can you tell me the definition of anatomy? You know what I mean? Like, I don't need that. I want them to be able to face a decision and be able to work through that. And Health Moves Minds is all about that. All right, so here's just a little program overview. You'll get this whole slideshow. Here's some of the skills. You see how they go from K to 12. All right. And a lot of it is similar because why wouldn't you want to be kind and, respect and teamwork? Like, this is what we do. So I had a reflection activity, but that was going to be our why. But just really start thinking about your why. Because I was going to have you guys like do a little why and then maybe post it up. But just for some reason, the why is very important right now. So start thinking about that.
Michelle, if I can, we're hearing the word why, right?
Yeah.
At a time when so many educators are burning out and leaving the profession altogether, my friends, you starting out with a strong purpose is going to sustain you for the next 30 plus years, right? And so it might sound like we're repeating ourselves, but there's a lot of sustenance here that's extremely important. And I mean, when you look at the profession over the past 2 to 3 years, and you see that even young and middle-aged teachers are saying this pandemic thing, I'm out, I can't do it. I can't take care of me and take care of my family and take care of other people's kids. It's a marathon, it's a journey. It's not a foot race. So the why is the fuel that keeps you going.
Absolutely. It's like that TikTok that goes like, have you ever felt like your tank was on empty? And it's like, yeah, all the time. But it's like, no, we got to fuel each other up. Like, we have to have our why, because after a hard day, you got to remember, okay, this is my why. This is why I'm here. Okay, so this was going to be with littlementi.com, but we can always come back to it for why health moves minds after I talk about it. All right, so so some of this stuff has to do if you already have a school. So maybe if you're student teaching, this would be a great thing to talk to your cooperative teacher about. So you want to learn about your schools. You want to learn about the Health Moves Minds fundraiser. So Judy, if you could just type in the Health Moves Minds the website. So they have it. Awesome. And then you'll learn how to get started. So right now you might have grade levels you teach. All right. You can scan this. It's an interest form. It's not signing you up. Like, don't worry. Like, you're not signing your life away. But that's just an interest form for you to get more information. As a college student, you can either there's a page coming up for you. So I'm not going to get to that yet, but it's all SEL focused, standards based curriculum. And that's what we're looking, that is what departments are looking for. So here is a student, and Judy, I feel like you tell this story better than me.
This was an incredible story. So when I was president of the national organization in 2018, we launched these pilot schools and we tried these lessons out, right? And we taught this little boy, this is a real little boy, and we taught him in his class, one of the teachers taught them how to be mindful and to breathe deeply for 60 seconds. And the PE teacher said, okay, now children, I want you to use this technique when you feel stressed, upset, or afraid. Later that day, the child and his class are in art and they had a lockdown. And in this particular art class, they have to go into the closet, do crisscross applesauce, the whole 9 yards. At the end of the drill, an administrator comes into the room and the teacher opens the closet door, and these children are listening to the administrator say something to the teacher to the effect of a thing or two that she could have done differently to keep the kids safer. And this kid breaks into a mindful minute. And the adults were like, what is he doing? So they take a picture. And I got to tell you, the administrator leans down and says, honey, what are you doing? And he said, my physical education teacher taught me how to do this when I'm afraid. So if there was ever an image that captures Health Moves Minds and the effect it has right away on the ability for kids to pick up these skills, that kid is it. He's my poster guy.
Yeah, that is, I mean, anytime I hear that, I'm just like, wow. It really is like the life skills that we are teaching as health and physical educators and as future professionals. So I'm so glad that you are all here. I'm not going to get too much into the fundraising part, but Judy, if you want to, you can. I do
Put
have
it in the
the
box. I'll put it in the chat box.
okay. Okay, so within the curriculum, you get lesson materials. So this is just going to go through a bunch of different things. It has alignments to the national standards, okay, as well as mini posters like the Mindful Minute, so adorable, little pictures on it. Talks about the SEL competencies, self-management, social awareness, self-awareness. They have full lessons, mini lessons, skills-based health activities. I mean, they just keep coming up with more and more. And all of this is free access for you all. Okay. Now, I'll let Judy take on that next part after, but accommodations and modifications, like this is just a very, it's a lot. It's a lot. But if you want to go in there next level, this is the next level.
Yeah, and you know what I like as an observer of classrooms, right? Because that's my other life, evaluating teacher performance. I like how it gives you the teacher script. I like how it offers you not only the SEL lessons that are infused in what you're doing in health and PE, right? Because there's a parachute lesson in the second grade that's just awesome. But it also gives you the suggestions around accommodations and modifications for children with special needs. And then the whole equity piece, like how do you group children equitably in a classroom, right? Because there was nothing worse for me as an administrator than to come into a room with a PE teacher at the elementary level and the teacher says, get in groups of 3. And I'd look around the room and I'd see 3 little white girls here, 3 little white boys here, 3 little black boys here, 3 little black girls here. Incredible how there was no equity around the room. And there are suggestions for how to take diversity and inclusion into account in these lessons. So I think that was really significant. And then look at all this other stuff you get. It's really awesome.
Okay, so becoming a team champion, that would be if you were fundraising. So let me go towards I go to what it goes for. I don't know why this is later.
I put it in the chat. Michelle.
So for future HB professionals, they have guidance for you to do a fundraiser at your university. All right, so I just skipped through that part because this is what you'll need for now. You can help with your professor, models for universities. They have like different give backs. We do like kindness weeks. The thing is about the health and PE world is if you get connected, like you can find things everyone shares. Like it's like, why reinvent the wheel? The health and PE community is just so selfless. That's the word, selfless. And it's great. So here's some more things for you. And then a mindful minute, I feel like now's a good time to take one. So for a mindful minute, we are going to just focus on the present. All right. Try to clear any thoughts that might be racing. And instead just focus on your breathing, inhaling through your nose for a count of 4. So inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold for 4, and exhale for 4. Now let's do that again. If you feel safe, you can close your eyes. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, and exhale. Now, I know that we only did 2, but sometimes like you just need to refocus and bring yourself back to center. And Judy reminds me of that a lot. If I call her and I'm a little bit like, she's like, mindful minute, better breathing. So it really helps. Like I really do it in my life. And it's great to know that when I read the reflections of my students, after we go through all these skills and stress management and how they cope, that these are skills they're using at home and they make pamphlets for the younger students to use of these, which is awesome. So after this, you can scan all these, but you'll see them later. All right, so that kind of wraps up our Health Moves Minds part. Is anybody have any questions on Health Moves Minds? Judy, anything that you
Yeah,
want to share?
Yeah, I'll just add that, this is going to be the future fundraiser, the national future fundraiser. And I can think of no better group to introduce the lessons to and the fundraiser to. My fundraiser when I was a kid was Jump Rope for Heart. That was a 40-year program. And now we're embracing the future around social emotional learning. And when Health Moves Minds was born, it was after Jump Rope for Heart. And we went out to health and PE teachers across the country and said, look, if it's not heart health, what do you think kids most need? And teachers said, we need help helping them talk about their feelings, express their fears, quell their anxiety, and get teachers to teach kids from the inside out. And that's exactly what Health Moves Minds does. All free lessons, if you sign up and register, you don't have to do the fundraiser if you don't want. You don't even have to be a Shape America member or state AFERD member or Shape state member to do the fundraiser or get the lessons, right? We just want you to save kids' lives with it. Now, if you decide to do the fundraiser and you want to do that, you'll never see a fundraiser give you 50% of the money back to your school, right? The other 50%, 15% to your state AFERD or SHAPE, 10% to Shape America, all for their advocacy efforts at the state and national level. And then 25% goes to actually run the national program. There's a national staff, there's a software program. Kids who raise $25 or more get a t-shirt, banners for the schools and the whole 9 yards. It's really a fantastic thing. And the thing I like about the university piece is that if you do this at the university level, you can raise money for equipment for your majors club or your program at the university level, or you can simply pay it forward with kindness to a local school district, which I think is really cool. The one piece we didn't mention is that after the whole fundraiser is over, you might decide you want to give 25% of the money you raised to a local charity of your choice, any 501c3. And I think that's a way of teaching kids that kindness is its own reward, right? And in some cases, your PTA at your local school is a 501c3. And let me tell you something, nothing says, get your book fair out of my gym. Like, here's some money for you, PTA. Sorry, that's just my little thing. So yeah, check it out. I mean, Health Moves Minds seriously just needs to be part of your social emotional learning repertoire. The lessons are done for you. They're nationally and state aligned. It's a no-brainer for me and it's free. And check that out at healthmovesminds.org.
Abby, I see that you wrote that you did this at your college. Do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, so we did it because I was our club president and I thought it was a fun fundraiser. We were actually one of the first universities in Missouri to host it or to do the fundraiser. And yeah, the one thing I loved about it is at our club meetings, we would take these lessons and like the SEL materials that we had, we'd pick a few we wanted to practice and learn. So we taught it to each other as college students, which allowed, from what my classmates were giving me feedback on, is they felt more comfortable now knowing about it, learning it with one another, teaching it to one another, to then go and take it out into their real classroom one day. Like they had the more confidence of it instead of getting thrown a new thing and they're like, oh no, let me try to teach it to my kids and like potentially fail with it, where we were able to learn and then also adapt some pieces to it with each other. And then the also amazing thing is a fundraiser, we decided to do that portion of it. And the really cool thing is, so we decided to have the money come back to our PE club because that fundraiser money then helped allow us to send kids to Shape New Orleans that year. So it allowed 4 of our students to get like very cheap way all the way to a national convention. So I thought that was awesome and a really good way that why colleges should do Health Moves Minds, in my opinion.
That's awesome. That's great. So see, then, because the Shape America conventions, like your first one was my first one. So like, and look at, you know what I mean? I've been teaching 11 years now. I wish that I went back then. So you all like listen to this advice because you definitely can. And you know, I was a little late to the game, but hey, I'm here. I made it. So happy to hear those thoughts. Abby, thank you for sharing. If anyone else has done Health Moves Minds, has anybody in here heard of Health Moves Minds? They want to write it in the chat.
They have now.
They have now. All right, so let's get to some TikTok. I know. Ugh, I wish we were together. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, sorry. All righty, so I know that TikTok can be like very controversial at times because some people either have not tried it or they see it some type of way. They see like negative things about it, but to me, I see it as if we're not on there helping fill our students and our youth, they're if we're not posting positive things and being on there, then we're just letting that win rather than because everyone, oh, no TikTok, but like you can make it positive. The thing is, like my students and I have formed such great relationships. I've met professionals. You know, I've also like had made connections through social media where they offer me jobs or ask me for, you know, do I know anybody that, you know, wants a job? And this is like all through social media. And I'm the first one before the pandemic that was like, I'm not getting a TikTok to my kids. I'm like, I have my Twitter, I got my Miss Huff Instagram. You see my stories, but like, no, like I don't dance. But then I realized that TikTok was much more than that when the pandemic hit, and basically started to use that to reach my students. So here's a disclaimer though, before using TikTok in an educational setting, just please check with your school's social media policy because it is rather new. They might not even have a policy for it. My principal, they love taking videos of my coworker and I doing TikTok. So it's fine with us, but just for you. So why TikTok? Another why. All right, so it's way less saturated than Instagram. It's easier than YouTube, and the algorithm wants you to go viral. Who in here has a TikTok? Do we have TikTok? I see some clapping. Yeah, some TikTokers. Okay, so basically, stats wise, this looks like a lot of stats, but it's been the explosion of TikTok. And it now leads over 3 billion people have downloaded TikTok to date. And it's taken over like Twitter, Telegram, Reddit, Pinterest, Snapchat. And basically it's showing us that there's now even like people are making money through being micro influencers on TikTok. And the wild thing is the last 3 years, this has been top, and you'll see in the next slide that it was the most downloaded app of 2021. And that is more than 100 million downloads from Instagram. So it's like whether people want to, you know, see it for what it is or not, like TikTok's out there. And this right here, it's 75. It's actually gone up in the newest one in the 2022 to about 110. But kids spend on average 75 minutes on TikTok. So they're scrolling, and it's like, what are they seeing? That's what I often wonder. And I always was like, well, if not me, then who? So even though I'm not the best dancer, this was way out of my comfort zone. I'm like, I need to like be able to connect with them in a way that is social emotional, that I'm getting on their level, but at the same time, like we're still learning and we're still growing. So it also showed that they open TikTok over 19 times a day. So TikTok is an outlet that you can use for creative ideas. It's a space to find relevant material to connect with your students, especially if there's like trends, challenges going on. I wonder if you all do them, but it's a tool to encourage student choice in completion of activities, especially if like they pick like our students will pick out a TikTok a week and like we'll do the TikTok, and it just creates that bond where I have parents calling me and they're like, you guys are legends, and I'm like, what? Like they're like, keep posting TikToks. I'm like, okay. Like, all right, I'll let my principal know that. No, but seriously, they love it. So okay, so here's some like random TikToks, but like we just make them fun. So here's my coworker and I. And it's just like when you think you get one fun teacher, but you get two. And like, let me tell you, since I'm at the high school as well, like everybody had Mrs. Gilbert. So they're like, we saw your TikTok, tell Mrs. Gilbert that, you know, we love her, da 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 da. It's like, it's great. And then I have the younger kids that are like, wait, I saw your TikTok, it was awesome. Here's another one to the Chrissy Wake Up challenge that they had going on. It's also cool for like for your students to see that you get along with your coworkers as well. Like it's an awesome, it's great. I'm so blessed to be where I teach, and you know, the people I'm surrounded by. It really makes your environment and the learning, the climate culture much better. So here's the future professionals. This was the most I believe, I don't know if Abby's still on here, but this was that Shape NOLA. This was definitely the most viewed. So if anybody was at Shape NOLA here, this was most viewed. And I think that it's so appropriate to share that with you all because you are Shape America. We are Shape America. We need to be united, all of us, and literally learn from one another. So I thought that was really important to put in there because you are just as important, if not even more important than, you know, myself, the next person. All right, because that's what we do. We pay it forward and we help one another out. So let's see what I got here. So we got sturdy with our girls before the other students got out of the locker room, and like it just was having fun. It's just, you know, have a little fun. Like, yeah, I may look a little bit like silly, but the thing is, like, at this point I'm like, why not? I always say, if not who, like if not who, then like I just am like, well, someone's got to do it. Someone's got to do it. And Judy, you know, because you always step up and I'm like right there next to you, like, let's go. So TikTok can be you. My TikTok is Miss Huff _HPE. I have more on here to show you more like stats, but I wanted to see if you had questions, if we wanted to do like any Q&A. If you have
a question, actually I have a question, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use TikTok, or have you seen people use TikTok to get kids to build their own activities, practice skills, make up dances? Do you have kids do assignments like that where they can make up their own TikTok?
I do. I do that in health for sure. Like I'll make like a self-care assignment and they'll post it like for somebody else to see. Absolutely. I think that's a great idea though to make that might be the next assignment and they will love it. That might be the next assignment. Thank you. Thank you, boss. Because the thing is, some of these, like this 31, like you're like working out. You're working out. So I hope that you all on here aren't afraid to step out of the box sometimes. Be you. You don't have to be anyone else. Just be authentically yourself. And just
Michelle, Ryan is just saying that his cooperating teacher had everybody make like a CPR TikTok, like a how-to, I guess, video. That's kind of cool.
oh, I love that.
That's a great idea.
That is a great idea. That's a really great idea.
Yeah, it was like he gave the students options of like a TikTok or like a post or something. They all made
That.
I love that. See, that's why I love the student choice. Like I'll do, okay, let's do, we wanted, usually I have them, like say they want to do an advertisement for the younger students. Like I'll allow them to use whatever platforms because somebody might like Instagram better, somebody might like Google Doc, we're all different. So somebody might like TikTok, but I like that your professor is in the TikTok game. That's cool. I've been talking to a lot of professors recently and they're trying to bridge that gap. So I'd love to hear what you all think about it. Like, do all of you use TikTok? Would you use that in your classrooms? Do your cooperative teachers besides Ryan's allow that or do that? No.
Abby has a good point here. Like you can't always put your kids' faces out there. So are there methods to blur out faces? Do you have them do you put the class so that their backs are turned? Like there's a couple of
Abby,
really important policies.
What
Yeah.
I do is like I cover all floors. So I go on each student's name. Like there's a system called Genesis where you check their attendance and they have a media form. So if their media form is filled out, I am allowed to. If their media form is not, there's a list that we have for our classes and they are not allowed to be on it. So yeah. And other schools may be stricter. That's why I put that disclaimer out there.
My big thing with TikTok, and this is my administrative hat on again, right? When I hear things like, I learned it on TikTok, right? That is a red flag for me, right? Because not everything on TikTok is real, right? I mean, all you need to do is to scroll for a few minutes and then the rhetoric and the propaganda shows up, which is why grounding all of this in skills, like finding valid and reliable information on the internet as one of your skill-based health skills is so very important. So that before you pick up a tool like this to use it in instruction, make sure kids are on the same page about the culture you're going to build around how to use these. Now, I'm not against it. I love it. I think this is the best thing that's happened to us because it meets children in their world. At the same time, it also kind of solidifies the fact that the students that are in front of us today will grow up as adults that consume their world digitally 85% of the time. Think about that. I don't even know what that looks like, but I know that TikTok is that place that can teach us where kids want us to go, right? And there was a time like Facebook was all kids and then their parents showed up on Facebook. So they ran away from Facebook and went to Twitter. Then their parents showed up there. So they ran away from Twitter and went to Instagram, and kids are wanting to be one step ahead of their adults to make sure that they have a space that they feel safe in and they can express themselves. And I think TikTok could be one of those places. And if we embrace it, like Michelle is saying, and use it for the force of good, and for teaching, I think not only can it help us and help kids, but I also think it can motivate kids in health and physical education in a way nothing else does, right? So I love this idea. I love it a lot.
Yeah, I agree though, Judy, because Because one time I was talking to another an administrator, and they said they love our TikTok, but they said I couldn't make one because the students would write bad things about me. So a lot of things is building that connection, because I'm like, I haven't had to deal with that. But like if I did, then like, things would, but it's all about building that connection. Students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And then they would never disrespect you. And they actually are like my high schoolers, since I'm going to the middle school, want to make a petition. And I'm like, no, I can't. You don't make a petition for me to stay here. Like, I'm still going to be around.
All right. So there's a lot of information that came at you this evening. And before I end us with another poll question, I want to know if there are any questions around interviews or resumes or Health Moves Minds or TikTok. All right. So before we go, I think this was fun and that we could be doing this again. I don't know. Certainly take Abby up on her offer to be part of that national platform, because there's nothing better and more cutting edge than being part of Shape America's cadre. But if I were to do this again, since I did work as a professor both at Montclair and Monmouth, I wonder what you might be interested in terms of topics. Go ahead and fill that one out. All of your favorite things. Do you see that poll there, Michelle?
I do. And it's like,
Look, they're all like, at GPA,
I know.
praxis.
See, the thing is, I just missed that.
GPA. Sorry, I had to use those
I
letters.
saw one of those TikToks the other day, and it's like when they make you write 20 page lesson plans in college, and it's like 2 sentences. And
Well, I tell you what's interesting as you guys are filling out the poll, EdTPA and all of the content that's around EdTPA kind of is parallel to the National Board Certification Program, which many veteran teachers are interested in doing when you get out into the field. If you decide to go through certification as a nationally board certified teacher, it's progressive, it's intense, it takes a while. But if you get that certification, you could actually get a stipend in your salary for being that level of a nationally board certified teacher. But the actual progress of the thing reminds me of the EdTPA process. No lie, it's the truth. All right, looks like we want some lesson resources and instructional strategies here. I like that. Yeah, I can make that happen, sure. Lots of really free, standards aligned, medically accurate resources for you in health and physical education. I'll send you to 2 places to give you a little taste of where I think you should go. In physical education, check out openphysed.org. And for family life resources and information that's medically accurate, research-based, and all about sex ed and family life, which is what we talk about constantly in New Jersey, it's rights, respect, and responsibility, the 3Rs.org. So I just put those in the chat for you. I also put the PowerPoint in the chat for those of you who didn't see it, but please don't worry, because this recording, as well as all 3 slide decks, will be available to you tomorrow when I send this out. Yes, Jenna, as far as district and social media policies, is that for including students in your content, or simply the connection between you and your TikTok account as a teacher? So teachers can have TikTok accounts, there's no doubt about that, but I think it has more to do with when you share images and expressions of children in your classroom, there are privacy details that you've got to be very careful of when you're putting kids out there on media, right? We're not just talking about 10 years ago when, News 12 New Jersey came to schools and was trying to get in a kid's face. When you put kids out on social media, we've got to be careful about things like restraining orders against a parent, or that kind of thing, to make sure that we protect the child's identity. So I think it's more about students being included in the content. I hope that answers your question.
yeah, if you want, just check out mine, and you could just see the type of the type of things that I post, because it's either it's for my students or for professional, and you know, I do a lot of the times do things like from behind. I don't, you know, because I don't want to get any of that. I make sure I cover all my, you know, cross my T's and dot my I's, honey, and make sure documentation, because that's how I. And especially when your principal is like, "Can I video you doing a TikTok?" I'm like, "Mel, you heard that, right? You heard that." That's my coworker.
All right, well, there it is. Resumes, be involved, be prepared, interviews, stay confident and calm. TikTok, it's the wave of the future. It's going to connect you to kids, and Health Moves Minds, the premier social emotional learning curriculum across the nation. Your fundraiser, your future. Abby, thank you so much for joining us. Michelle, thank you for all your awesome information. On behalf of HPE Solutions LLC, thank you all for joining us this evening. I wish your families and you all a wonderful, happy holiday season. Take that much needed college break and that rest that I know you're all so excited to have and are so deserving of. So thank you for joining us tonight. You are clearly the cream of the crop in New Jersey and beyond, and make sure that this goes on your resume. I'll have all this information for you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. On behalf of HPE Solutions, I'm Judy. This is Michelle, Abby, and on behalf of Stephanie Morris, have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.